Revealed. The incredible story of Linkbelt's unsung heroes transforming American construction. In the heart of a small American town, Jake Miller stood at his workstation, the rhythm of his machines wrapping around him like a comforting hug. He was a dedicated machinist at Linkbelt, and every metal piece he shaped echoed not just his skill, but the spirit of his community. At 35, Jake balanced the demanding roles of father and craftsman, his heart swelling every time he caught a glimpse of his daughter, Lily. Her wide eyes sparkled with dreams of college and a life far beyond their humble home. Between the thundering sounds of welding and the laughter spilling from their cozy living room, life seemed manageable. Yet, looming beyond their backyard was a shadow, a vast new construction project that threatened to obscure their future. Asphalt and steel were set to replace the small houses and cherished backyards that held countless memories. The whispers among neighbors grew into shouts of protest, and Jake's heart raced with the urgency of it all. The struggle wasn't just about preserving homes. It was about fighting against the biases that layered their suburb like an invisible wall. Jake worked tirelessly, crafting his machines with painstaking detail, pouring his passion into every manufactured part, while the pressure mounted from corporate demands. Each day was a tightrope walk. He sacrificed friendships, barely managing the tight schedule of work and fatherhood. Lily would sit at the kitchen table with her books, her bright smile a reminder of why he fought. She deserved every dream she dared to chase, untouched by the harsh whispers of the world outside. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The uproar reached a boiling point when social activists began articulating concerns about economic justice, and Jake felt the spark ignite within him. He stood before a growing crowd, his voice trembling yet powerful, as he rallied his neighbors, urging them to unite against the threat of displacement. Vulnerability seeped into his words. Tears filled his eyes, and in that moment, he wasn't just fighting for homes. He was modeling integrity for Lily, showing her what it meant to stand tall amidst the gale of injustice. But when the crucial petition failed, darkness clouded his heart. Jake stood in front of the executive board, nervousness intertwined with strength. His soul wrestled with the true meaning of being a hero. Was it winning battles or simply fighting for what was right? A heavy silence enveloped the room as Jake poured out his struggle, his vulnerability giving life to a collective hope that started to rise among them. Whispers of support began to blend with the urgency of their fight. In that moment, he realized their community wasn't just about construction. It was about fighting for dignity and the foundation of their identity. In the culminating tension, their efforts became more than just a struggle against the construction. It blossomed into a mission for something much deeper. The community began awakening, and as hope burst through the cracks of despair, they clung to the question that loomed. What truly defines a hero in the place they called home? As Jake looked out at the faces of his neighbors, resolved yet anxious, he felt the weight of their aspirations rest on his shoulders. Together, they stood on the brink of revelation, ready for the journey that lay ahead. The air was thick with tension. It hung over the town like a storm cloud, heavy and electric. Jake stepped outside, the cool breeze brushing against his skin, grounding him as he faced the night. He could hear the distant echoes of the nearby construction site, machinery whirring like a relentless heartbeat. It marked a change, a reminder that everything was shifting, but what Jake felt was far deeper than the threats of asphalt and steel. That evening, Lily approached him, her small hand gripping a piece of paper. She had crafted a flyer filled with colorful letters, boldly proclaiming, "Save our neighborhood." Her eyes sparkled with a fierce determination that mirrored Jake's own. In that moment, he realized that this battle wasn't just his anymore. It belonged to the next generation too. "Daddy, can we give these out? People need to know we're fighting for them," she said, her voice rising in enthusiasm. Jake knelt, gazing into her hopeful face. "Absolutely, Lily. You've got the heart of a champion." Together, they ventured into their neighborhood, handing out flyers, their footsteps echoing the unyielding spirit of their community. One by one, doors creaked open, neighbors emerging, frowning at the papers that spoke of a fight they thought had already been lost. But behind those frowns, there was something else, a flicker of hope. As they walked, Jake felt a renewed sense of purpose. Each time a neighbor expressed their gratitude or shared their own stories, it rekindled the fire in his chest. They weren't alone. Together, they were a tapestry of resilience stitched from years of shared experiences, laughter, and love. Days turned into nights, and the mundane tasks of life transformed into planning sessions over coffee and community meetings at the local church. With every meeting, the air became infused with passion. How dare they tear apart their homes? With Lily at his side, Jake organized rallies, inviting speakers and activists to rally the town. At the weekly farmers' market, families gathered around the booth, filled with pamphlets and information, buzzing conversations mixing with the sounds of laughter and vendors. They shared recipes and plans, but also fear and dreams that could be crushed with each passing day the construction loomed. But they were united now, each person weaving a thread of solidarity into their shared narrative. Yet, Jake couldn't shake off the gnawing thought deep within him. What were the sacrifices they might need to make? He glanced at Lily, who was drawing and giggling with her friends, blissfully unaware. The very essence of being a father tugged hard at him. He had to protect her, shield her from the heartbreak that could come from their fight. One chilly afternoon, just as the sun dipped low, casting a golden glow over the horizon, Jake stood before a council meeting. This time, the stakes felt more profound. They weren't just fighting for homes. They were standing for their identity, their past and their future. He could feel his palms sweating, the weight of every hopeful gaze resting on him. Nobody believes in us more than we do, and this fight is just beginning, he proclaimed, the words spilling forth with an urgency that electrified the room. But in the back of his mind, uncertainty flickered. What if their best wasn't enough? As applause erupted around him, Jake couldn't ignore the drumbeat of doubt echoing within. What if this wasn't just a struggle for homes? What if it turned into a journey that would test their very limits? With those unanswerable questions gnawing at him, he prepared for the next chapter in their fight, knowing it would require more than just voices. It would demand unwavering strength, and perhaps even sacrifice. Would Jake's determination hold as his world began to unravel? What choices would he be faced with next, and how would they shape both his own and Lily's future? The council meeting buzzed with energy, but inside Jake's mind, a storm raged. They had all rallied behind a cause that felt just pure. But as he looked around the room, anxiety crawled up his spine. Doubt twisted its way through his thoughts. What if everything they built, the hope in the air, the conversations over coffee, the heart of Lily and so many who believed in a simpler life, was all for nothing? In the days that followed the meeting, the tension only grew. The sound of heavy machinery echoed like a battle cry, a constant reminder of the encroaching construction site. Jake's mornings bled into afternoons, and the nights stretched long as he and Lily continued to distribute flyers. But Jake noticed a weariness settling over their neighbors. The heartfelt laughter that once filled the streets had been replaced by hushed discussions and concerned glances. "Daddy, can we go see Mr. Thompson?" Lily asked one evening, pointing toward the neighbor's home, which had been boarded up. "He used to tell me the best stories." Jake hesitated. Mr. Thompson's property was one of the first scheduled to be wiped away in the development plan. His heart ached at the thought of explaining to Lily why they couldn't visit her friend anymore. "Let us go," he said, finally steeling himself. As they approached, Jake's footsteps felt heavy. He knocked on the door, the sound echoing more hollowly than he expected. When Mr. Thompson opened it, he looked older, his eyes clouded with sadness. But when he saw Lily, a flicker of warmth returned. "Hey there, kiddo. Been a while," he said, kneeling down to her level. "Are you okay, Mr. Thompson?" she asked, her wide eyes full of concern. Better than the old house, huh? He replied, forcing a smile as he glanced around his dilapidated entryway. Are you going to stay? Lily pressed. Jake felt his heart twist, knowing that the answer hung in the air like a thick fog. Mr. Thompson's lips parted, but he merely shook his head slowly. I don't think so, sweetheart. Anger flared within Jake, but he swallowed it down. He chose his words carefully. We're trying, Mr. Thompson. We'll stand together. You don't have to leave alone. But Mr. Thompson placed a gnarled hand on Jake's shoulder, injecting those words with a weight that felt nearly unbearable. Sometimes, son, it's not just about standing together. It's about knowing when to fight and when to learn how to let go. The words haunted Jake as he walked home with Lily, her small hand grasping his tightly. Each step felt heavier than the last, and he could sense the weight of the man's struggle resting on his shoulders. How could he make Lily understand the lessons of loss and sacrifice that were surfacing? That evening, the community gathering at the church felt different. Tensions bubbled beneath a seemingly united front. Neighbors exchanged glances filled with unvoiced fear, and Jake felt a chasm of uncertainty opening up around him. We need to talk strategy, he said, his voice steady. What if we took our fight to the next level? A petition, a march, but is it enough? Someone countered from the crowd. Heads nodded. Uncertain looks shared amongst friends turned allies. Jake's heart raced as he grasped an undeniable truth: they were all scared. Scared of losing their homes, their memories, their future. But he had to take that fear and mold it into something tangible. What we do next matters. We have to not only fight with our words but with our hearts. Then, from the corner of the room, a voice tangled with courage spoke up. What if we find a way to show them what our neighborhood really means? A festival? Everyone here cares. A festival. In that moment, a seed of hope took root in Jake's chest. Could this idea turn their battle into something beautiful? But as excitement flickered through the room, Jake wrestled with the implicit risks. What if their efforts were met with resistance? What if it wasn't enough? With Lily humming a lively tune beside him, Jake's resolve solidified. They would rally not just for homes, but for love, connection, and community. As the night stretched into uncertain possibilities, he looked at Lily, ready to shape a promise. They would fight, and they would celebrate the spirit of their neighborhood. But as plans brewed, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the greatest challenges lay ahead. What struggles awaited in the pursuit of unity? And would they have the strength to face them together? The days that followed were a whirlwind of meetings, planning sessions, and endless brainstorming. Each morning, Jake awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to build something extraordinary. The festival idea gained momentum, transforming from a mere suggestion to a beacon of hope lighting the path ahead. Lily's excitement was infectious. Daddy, can we have balloons? She chirped, bouncing around their living room. Her wide-eyed enthusiasm tugged at Jake's heart, reminding him why he was fighting. Yes, honey. Balloons for everyone. He smiled, envisioning colors streaking against the clear blue sky, laughter spilling out like music into the air. But deep down, a flutter of anxiety lingered. What if the city didn't take them seriously? What if no one came? And so they plunged into the preparations. Flyers, banners, and countless phone calls filled their days. Jake watched the community begin to come alive again. Neighbors who had once been hesitant now rallied together, bringing their strengths to the table. The sewing club fashioned bright decorations, while the local bakery promised a mountain of pies that would make anyone's mouth water. Yet Jake couldn't shake the nagging doubt. In their effort to show the city how much they cared, would they truly be heard? One evening, after a long day of organizing, Jake found a quiet moment sitting on the porch. The cool breeze kissed his skin as he watched the sun sink below the horizon. Lily played in the yard, chasing fireflies, her laughter breaking the stillness. It was so normal, yet the world around them felt anything but. He turned to see Ms. Adams from 2 doors down standing there, her arms crossed. Jake, she began, her voice wavering slightly. Do you think this festival is really going to change their minds? I hope so, he replied, keeping his tone steady. It's about showing the city what this place means. Not just houses, but homes, families. She nodded slowly, concern etched on her face. Sometimes it feels like we're pushing against a brick wall. A sweet festival, 1T change plans made in high glass towers. Her words sliced through him. What if she was right? What if their hopes were built on sand? Maybe, he said, standing and crossing to meet her gaze. But if we don't try, we lose anyway. I can't let that happen, not when there's still something worth fighting for. Ms. Adams softened, her smile faint but sincere. You're right. It's hard to believe in change sometimes. Jake wished he could promise her everything would be okay, but the truth sat heavy in his chest. Change was unpredictable, and they were about to step out on a ledge with no guarantees. As the festival day approached, anxiety shifted into a tense anticipation. With every passing minute, Jake felt the weight of a small army on his back, each of them depending on this one day to mean something. The morning dawned bright and warm, the world seeming to hold its breath. Together, Jake and Lily hung colorful banners and set up tables, working as a team, each task bringing them closer. Neighbors started to filter in, their smiles breaching the clouds of doubt hanging around. Lily giggled as she helped fill balloons with helium, her joy infectious. Look, Daddy, they're flying. Just like our hopes, he murmured as he tied off a balloon, his heartbeat quickening. The festival unfolded in bursts of laughter, music, and the tantalizing aroma of food. But just as Jake began to believe this would be the turning point, he noticed a group of city officials approaching. Their expressions were serious, eyes scanning the happy chaos. Jake's heart raced at the uncertainty of their presence. Would they see the joy, or only the frivolous facade of the celebration spun from desperation? Lily, stay close, he cautioned, his protective instincts kicking in. As the officials drew near, Jake couldn't help but wonder their little festival, a celebration of community. Was it enough to sway the very people who held the power to change everything? What would happen when they spoke? Would they bring answers or more? Uncertainty? Jake steeled himself, knowing the battle was far from over. He would stand to face it, side by side with his neighbors. After all, their fight for hope had only just begun. The music thrummed through the air, a joyful backdrop to the vibrant scene. Families mingled, laughter bubbled up, and the tempting smell of food beckoned everyone closer. Jake stood at the edge of the crowd, his heart pounding like the drumbeat of the band nearby. The city officials moved through the throng, their expressions unreadable. Jake glanced down at Lily, her face aglow with excitement. She was still busy showcasing her creations, an elaborate balloon hat that had her giggling uncontrollably. For a moment, her laughter was all that mattered. But the sight of the officials pulled him back into reality. Lily tugged at his shirt, her bright eyes wide. Do you think they'll like it, Daddy? He knelt to her level, his heart softening. I think they'll see how much we all care. Just be proud of what we've done. But deep inside, doubt twisted like a vine. Would they truly see it? Would they understand? Jake stood up, brushing the thought aside as he took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. The group of officials stopped at a booth dedicated to local artisans. The sight of handmade crafts and paintings told stories of the community's spirit. Jake observed as one of the officials, a tall woman with sharp features, narrowed her eyes. She picked up a colorful piece of pottery, turning it over in her hands. Look at this work, she said to her colleagues. This is impressive. Moved by a surge of hope, Jake stepped forward, feeling the weight of everyone's hopes riding on his shoulders. I'm Jake, he introduced himself, offering a hand. We wanted to showcase what our community means, what it stands for. The woman returned his handshake, her grip firm.
I am Councilwoman Avery.
This is quite the setup you have here. Her tone held an edge of curiosity, but Jake sensed it was tempered with skepticism. Thank you, he replied, trying to read her. We've been through a lot. This festival is about more than just fun. It's about showing our strength. She studied him for a moment, and for a fleeting second, Jake caught a glimpse of something softer behind her professional demeanor. He pressed on, If we could just have the chance to speak with you about our plans for the neighborhood. Councilman Richards, a heavy-set man beside her, cut in. Plans? Everything is already in motion. The board has made decisions. Jake swallowed hard. They were here, at least. But would they hear any of the hopes festering in their hearts? What we're asking for is a chance, he replied, his voice tinged with urgency. We believe we can find a way to make it work. Not just for us now, but for the city too. The tension around them thickened as people nearby paused, their attention drawn to the discussion. Lily stood at Jake's side, clutching a balloon, her innocent trust grounding him. Ms. Adams approached, her earlier doubts seemingly forgotten in the energy of the moment. Councilwoman, these people are passionate. You have to listen to them. Jake felt a swell of gratitude. Perhaps they were more united than he thought. As murmurs of support swept through the crowd, Jake locked eyes with Councilwoman Avery. He continued, you have the power to see us, not just as a community, but as partners in this city's future. We want to work together. A silence fell, thick and electric. Jake's heart raced. Would this be the moment he pushed for all this time? Would their dreams be heard? Or would this just be another conversation swallowed by bureaucratic indifference? He straightened, drawing in a deep breath, ready to fight for every ounce of hope he had left. Then, just as he thought they were opening up, a voice cut through the noise. Excuse me. A young man from the crowd stepped forward, the determination in his stance radiating. We deserve a future. We deserve to be part of the plans. The room buzzed with energy, and Jake's heart soared. If they could keep this momentum going, maybe they really had a chance. As Jake turned to Councilwoman Avery, hoping for a response, her expression shifted, and he felt a chill. Would they embrace this chance or close the door for good? The eyes of the community were upon him, and he could feel the weight of their collective hope. This was their fragile moment. What would happen next? In that heartbeat of forgotten time, hope stood on a razor's edge, and all it would take was one word to tip the scales. Would it be a step forward or a retreat into silence? The crowd held its breath, the air thick with anticipation. Councilwoman Avery opened her mouth, but no sound came out. A moment stretched, feeling like an eternity. Jake's pulse quickened, and the voices of the townspeople faded into a soft murmur, all of them waiting for a sign, a glimmer of hope from their leaders. Finally, she said, "We are here to listen," her tone cautious yet pointed. It was an opening, and Jake seized it, his words tumbling out in a rush. "Thank you. We've poured our hearts into this community project. We want to create spaces that honor our past but also build hope for our future." His gaze wandered over to Lily, who still wore her balloon hat like a crown. "Look at our kids. They deserve to know their voices matter. They deserve parks, everything we're selling here today, and more." Councilman Richards shifted uncomfortably, muttering something almost inaudible. "The funds are limited, but the possibilities are endless." The young man from the crowd interjected again, his voice now rising above the apprehension. "You can't keep treating us like we're disposable. Invest in the future we're trying to create." A ripple of agreement moved through the crowd, growing stronger with each passing second. Old ladies clutched their shopping bags tighter, teenagers exchanged glances of camaraderie, and parents exchanged determined nods, sensing something incredible was brewing among them. "We're not asking for handouts," another voice shouted, this one belonging to a middle-aged woman holding a tray of homemade cookies. "We only want a chance to help ourselves." Jake felt the crowd rallying behind him, every shared sentiment fanning the flames of their collective dream. The officials stood silently, but Jake could see Councilwoman Avery shifting her weight, her expression softening. "That's what we need. An initiative," she finally said, her character beginning to change. "A way to create a bridge to partner with us, not just dictate to us," Jake added, his energy igniting a spark of possibility. "Maybe, just maybe, they might finally be heard. I can arrange a meeting," Avery continued, her voice steadier. "But you need to understand the limits of what we can promise. We need to assess the project's viability, and I don't care about limits." Jake exclaimed, passion spilling over. "We're used to limits. We want to create something beautiful, something lasting. Together, we have the plans and the passion. What we need is real partnership. The silence after his words felt heavy, almost sacred, as if everyone sensed they were standing on a threshold. Jake felt an overwhelming rush of emotion, knowing what was at stake. Lily's small hand slipped into his, her warmth grounding him. Avery nodded slowly. All right, let us explore what can be done. Let us start with a proposal and community input. Cheers erupted from the crowd, shouts of celebration mingling with laughter and relief. Jake felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. But as the euphoria washed over him, he noticed Councilman Richards' scowl sharpening. Laughter and joy filled the air, yet he couldn't shake off the feeling that a storm might be brewing beneath this small victory. What if those decisions already made behind closed doors couldn't be undone? Jake turned to Lily, whose beaming smile filled him with warmth. Did you hear that? We did it. What happens next? She asked, bubbles of excitement bursting in her voice. Jake crouched down to meet her eyes, heart swelling with pride. Now we keep pushing forward. We build on this moment. As the festival swirled around them, Jake felt hope mingling with uncertainty. They had taken a step, but bigger challenges lay ahead. Would other voices come forward to bolster their cause? Or would they face indifference from those resistant to change? The thrilling warmth of possibility drifted into the cool night air, but the shadows of doubt lingered. In that moment, he realized they were on a path, but what awaited them often lay in the unseen corners of the journey. Would they face the darkness together or be swallowed by it? Only time would tell. The air was electric with excitement, yet Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. As the crowd began to disperse, he caught snippets of conversations filled with hope and dreams of a better tomorrow. He watched the townspeople exchange numbers, forming groups for planning and discussion. There was a spark igniting throughout the park, a community uniting in purpose. Do you really think it will happen? Lily's voice pulled him back to the moment. Her little face was full of wonder. Jake smiled, ruffling her hair. I know it will. This is our chance. We just have to keep pushing. He took a deep breath, enjoying the sweet smell of cotton candy and fresh popcorn wafting through the air. It felt surreal to be in the midst of such a celebration when his thoughts were tangled with worry about Councilman Richards. Was he plotting something? As they walked hand in hand, Lily stopped to investigate a booth selling friendship bracelets. She eagerly chose a blue one adorned with little charms. Look, Daddy, can I get this? Sure, but let us save some money for the next project, he replied, chuckling at her insistence to have the little treasures. Only if you get one too, she declared, her eyes bright. Jake laughed, the weight on his chest lightening for a moment. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Jake gathered with a small group of passionate supporters near the old gazebo. They spoke animatedly, tossing ideas around like confetti. Each suggestion added another layer to the vision they were building. A park, a community center, spaces for arts and culture, each one filling the air with potential. But then his phone buzzed. He glanced down, seeing Councilman Richards' name flashing on the screen. A chill raced through him. What could he want now? Excuse me for a second, Jake said, stepping away from the group. He answered the call, his heart racing. Jake. Richard's voice was low, pointed. I need to talk to you. About what? The proposal? Jake felt his nerves tightening up. Yes. We're concerned about the viability of your project. And there was a crackling pause. I suggest we meet directly. Tomorrow. Jake bristled at the councilman's tone. What's your angle? It wasn't always easy to mix business with politics. And Richards had never been known for his benevolence. You'll find out soon enough. Then the line went dead. Jake stood there, his mind racing. What was Richards up to? Was he genuinely interested, or were there ulterior motives at play? He felt a hand on his shoulder, turning to see Lily standing next to him. What happened? I'm not sure yet, he admitted. But I'll find out. Don't worry, kiddo. As they returned to the group, Jake's thoughts swirled. The momentum they had built felt fragile, and he didn't want to see it crushed by unseen forces. "Jake, come on," a voice called out from the crowd, pulling him back. They were brainstorming ideas for the first proposal meeting with the council members. "We need your input." He joined them, focusing back on the energy they created together, but lingering in his mind was that conversation. Doubt and determination wrestled within him. The clear path he thought was ahead was now clouded with storm clouds, and he needed to prepare for the worst. And just when he thought things couldn't get more complicated, a figure approached the gathering. It was Councilwoman Avery, her expression uncertain but intent. "Jake, can I talk to you?" she asked. He nodded, chest tightening again. What did she have to say that would tip the scales even more? As they stepped aside, he felt the crowd's gaze upon him, sensing something significant was about to unfold. "Something is coming. Something big," she whispered, her voice low. "You need to be ready." What lurked beneath her words? Jake stared into her eyes, felt the pulse of everything that was at stake. A shadow loomed, thicker than before, and he knew. Decisions were about to be made that could change everything. Would they be ready for the challenge, or would it test the very foundation of their dreams? Only time would reveal the truth and the battle awaiting them. Jake felt a knot tighten in his stomach as he absorbed Councilwoman Avery's words. There was a heaviness in her voice, a knowing that made his skin prickle. He couldn't shake the feeling that the stakes were higher than he'd anticipated. "Can't you give me anything more specific?" he asked, trying to keep the urgency from creeping into his voice. Avery shook her head. "I wish I could. But there are forces at play that you don't fully understand yet. Just trust me. Stay alert." Her intense gaze remained on him, as if weighing the gravity of her warning against the weight of her own conscience. He nodded slowly, commitment flaring within him. The dream they shared was too important to let slip away. Returning to the group, Jake took a moment to gather his thoughts. The air around him buzzed with proposals and enthusiasm, but his mind was in turmoil. He glanced at Lily, who was giggling with a cluster of kids, blissfully unaware of the brewing storm. Her innocence fueled his resolve. "We need a strategy," Jake announced, breaking into the discussion. "We can't just go into this blindly. If Richmond is brewing something, we must anticipate it." Heads turned toward him, eyes flicking with questions. He felt the weight of their expectations pressing down, but he stood tall. The group began murmuring, sharing concerns and suggestions, each one building on his call for caution. "More community support could help," suggested Mia, the local teacher. "If we rally more people, we'll have the council's ear." "Yes," Jake replied, bolstered by the idea. "Let us organize a town hall meeting. We need to show them the strength of our community, our collective voices." Eager nods circulated through the crowd, and he felt the tingle of hope creeping back. Together, they began to outline what the meeting might look like, tossing around ideas for speakers, topics, and the overarching vision for their beloved town. As they discussed logistics, Jake noticed a figure lingering at the edge of the gathering. It was Greg, a neighbor who had always kept to himself. Intrigued, he excused himself from the circle to approach him. "Hey Greg, you look like you have something on your mind." The man scratched the back of his head, uncertainty etched into his features. I've been thinking about the project and all the talk about the council. Maybe it's time I speak up. People have always relied on me to keep out of things. But I can help." Jake's heart surged. "Absolutely, your voice matters. The more of us who step up, the stronger we'll be. I just hope it doesn't all backfire," Greg muttered, glancing nervously over his shoulder as if the council members were lurking nearby. Jake felt a chill at Greg's statement. Could the very act of standing strong put them in more danger? As the night crept on and the stars began twinkling above, Jake's focus shifted back to Lily. She was weaving her new bracelet onto her wrist, radiant in her childhood joy. He held onto that light, reminding himself of why they were all fighting. Just then, his phone buzzed again. The dreaded name appeared once more. He hesitated, the previous conversation echoing in his mind. But a spark of defiance ignited within him. "Yes, crank it up," he whispered to himself, stealing his resolve. He answered the call, his heart racing. "Councilman Richards?" "Jake." His voice dripped with honey-laced venom. "We need to talk. I have an offer that might interest you." Jake swallowed hard, his palms clammy. What kind of offer would come wrapped in the shadows of doubt? Where he started, but Richards interrupted. "Meet me where the old bridge overlooks Swift Creek. Tomorrow at noon. Don't bring anyone else." The line went dead, leaving Jake standing in the flickering light of the park, the gravity of the world resting on his shoulders. He turned back to the group, their hopeful laughter echoing behind him. What was the councilman plotting? What sacrifices would he have to make to protect Lily and their dream? The more questions arose, the more he felt tension coil in his gut. Tomorrow would bring revelations, and Jake needed to prepare not just for himself, but for everyone who believed in their vision. As if sensing the shift in his mood, Lily looked over, hearing the laughter turn to hushed whispers among the adults. "Daddy, are you okay?" Jake forced a smile, but inside, the questions gnawed at him like hungry wolves. "I will be, sweet pea. I promise," he replied, but doubts began to seep in like shadows. The clock was ticking, and the stakes were higher than ever. As they wrapped up their discussion, Jake knew this was just the beginning. What awaited him at the old bridge could change everything, but what if the revelation wasn't what he wanted to hear? Morning came with a curtain of gray clouds, casting a shadow over Jake's thoughts as he paced his small living room. The ticking of the clock felt louder with each passing moment, each second syrupy with anxiety. He glanced around, searching for a hint of certainty, but found only the scattered toys and the remnants of last night's excitement. Lily was still asleep, her peaceful face hidden beneath a blanket, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing outside. Jake's mind wandered back to the conversation with Councilman Richards. The man had a reputation smooth on the surface but sharp underneath. What could he possibly want? Jake felt the nagging urge to share this looming confrontation with someone anyone, yet knew it was futile. This was a solo game. Trust was a luxury he couldn't afford. He grabbed a mug, pouring himself a steaming cup of coffee that did little to settle his nerves. The bitter aroma filled the space, but instead of comforting, it only reminded him of the uncertainty ahead. Thoughts of the town hall meeting floated back into his mind. They needed momentum, a unified stance to protect what mattered. The flickering hope in the eyes of the crowd from the previous night sparked within him again. They all believed in a better future, one not overshadowed by the council's machinations. After a few moments, he decided to take action. He pulled out his phone to text Mia. "Can we meet up? Need to discuss the town hall strategy." While waiting for her reply, he let his mind wander to the old bridge. It was a place of childhood memories, fishing, laughter, and the sense of adventure. Could that space hold the key to their battle? The silence in the house was punctuated only by the gentle snoring coming from Lily's room. They were fighting for her future, a chance for her to grow up in a place untainted by fear. That was it. That was why he had to face Richards today. A buzz broke the silence. Mia's reply. "Sure. How about the diner in an hour?" "Perfect. I'll be there." He took another sip of coffee, determination brewing alongside. This wasn't just about defending their home. It was about connection. People had to feel what was at stake. The heartbeat of the townsfolk had to reverberate loud enough to reach the council's ears. Jake dressed quickly, checking each detail. He felt somewhat ridiculous donning an old button-up shirt, but it was an attempt to project confidence. He had to walk into that meeting with purpose, strength, whether he felt it or not. After gathering some flyers for the meeting, he stepped outside, the air crisp with the promise of rain. The world felt muted around him, as if it too was waiting for the storm to break. He headed toward the diner, where ordinary people were likely to hold the extraordinary power to change the course of their futures. At the diner, the familiar scent of bacon and fresh coffee washed over him as he walked in. Mia was seated at a corner booth, eagerly flipping through papers. The urgency in her gestures echoed Jake's own racing thoughts. "Glad you made it," she greeted, her eyes bright with enthusiasm that gave Jake a spark. "Me too. We need to flesh out the ideas for the meeting. He sat down, and they dove into discussions about rallying support, inviting community members who could share personal testimonies and stories. As time passed, the mood around them lifted. They shared strategies and jokes, their connection fueling a sense of camaraderie. But in the back of Jake's mind lingered the dread of his impending meeting with Richards. Then, as if the universe hesitated in its motions, his phone buzzed with a new message. Remember, those who fall into the darkness can unexpectedly become heroes. Jake's breath hitched. Was that a warning? An encouragement? The words spurred an unsettling mix of fear and hope within him. The message felt ominous but gave him a strange sense of purpose. "Hey, everything okay?" Mia asked, catching the change in his expression. "Just getting strange messages," he muttered, keeping his revelations to himself. The clock was ticking. They couldn't postpone their dreams until Jake figured out the mystery behind Richard's offer. As they wrapped up their plans for the meeting, the shadows of doubt hovered like clouds overhead. But together they were steering toward light. "Jake, we'll face this thing together. No matter what," Mia said, her voice steady, anchoring him amid the chaos. As they stood to leave, Jake felt a new spark of courage, one that echoed through the path he would soon tread toward the old bridge. But as he stepped outside, anxiety washed over him anew. What awaited him behind that bridge? Would it be redemption or ruin? Tomorrow would reveal everything, and time was slipping away. The morning sun broke through the gray clouds as Jake stood at the entrance of the old bridge that loomed over Swift Creek. The wooden planks creaked beneath his feet, echoing the doubts and fears racing in his mind. Today was the day, a day that could tip the scales in their favor or plunge them deeper into uncertainty. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of every neighbor, each voice that had gathered in the past weeks. They all believed in something more than asphalt and steel. They believed in a community, a life worth preserving for Lily and everyone's children. With every step forward, he reminded himself of their dreams. The bridge had always been a place of wonder. It was where he'd spent countless hours with friends, shared secrets, and built fortresses of hope. Those memories anchored him now, urging him to fight for what that place represented, the heart and soul of their lives intertwined. As he approached the meeting spot, he found Councilman Richards leaning against the railing, his posture casual but his expression unreadable. A knot formed in Jake's stomach. The man exuded a sense of authority that felt oppressive. "Glad you could make it, Jake," Richards greeted, his tone friendly yet laced with something sharper. "Let us talk." Jake squared his shoulders, focusing on why he was here. "What did you want to discuss?" Richards wasted no time. "It's about the proposal. You have momentum with the community, and it's commendable," he began. "But there are realities we need to address." Jake's heart raced. "You mean the plans for the construction? The way it will displace people?" "It's progress," Richards replied nonchalantly. "But I'm here to offer you something." From the way he spoke, Jake could sense the weight behind the offer, sugar-coated but potentially full of poison. "What kind of offer?" "Join us. Be a spokesperson for the development. In return, I can assure some concessions for the community, perhaps even a community center funded by the project." Jake felt anger flare, then quickly dissipate into confusion. "You want me to sell out? To pacify my neighbors with an empty promise?" "Not exactly," Richards replied, shrugging his shoulders. "This is business, Jake. Compromise. It would be good for you and your daughter. You want her future secured, don't you?" Those words struck deep, but the image of Lily's hopeful face filled Jake's mind, and he stood tall. Her future doesn't mean hiding from the truth or sneaking in deals behind everyone's back. This is about the community, not just a lone voice. Richards took a step closer, his gaze steady and intense. "You're passionate, I'll give you that. But passion doesn't pay bills, Jake. You and I both know this is a larger game. Maybe you don't understand just how much people are willing to stand and fight for, even when the stakes are high," Jake declared, his voice rising with conviction. Richards frowned, sensing the fire in Jake. "You're playing a dangerous game. The council isn't known for their leniency. Cross us, and you may find yourself facing consequences that could hurt the very community you're trying to protect. The threat hung in the air like unspoken tension. Jake felt adrenaline surge through him. Let them come. If we do nothing, we lose everything. I won't let the fear of the council take away the spirit of our neighborhood. Richards narrowed his eyes, assessing Jake's resolve. You'll regret this. With a turn, he walked away, leaving Jake with a mix of triumph and worry coiling in his chest. But as the councilman retreated, Jake felt a sense of clarity settle around him. His heart raced, not from fear, but from the knowledge that he had stood firm for his community. He wasn't just a voice. He was a vessel of their collective hopes and dreams. With resolve, he walked back along the bridge, glancing down at the water flowing beneath it. It reminded him that change, like water, could carve paths through rock. The power lay in collaboration, in standing together against the tide of opposition. Later that evening, as he sat at the kitchen table with Lily, the weight of his day began to lift. She was drawing, her laughter filling the surprisingly still air. He watched her focus, her creativity pouring out onto the page. "What are you drawing, kiddo?" "A house," she exclaimed, smiling brightly. "A happy house." It dawned on him her innocence was a reminder that this wasn't just about boundaries or properties, but about making a life. Her dreams thrived here. "Can I see?" he asked enthusiastically, leaning in. "Sure." She held up the drawing, carefully embodying each detail. And in that moment, Jake felt a fierce sense of duty pulse through him. He couldn't let anyone take this away from her. Days turned into a whirlwind of activity surrounding the town hall. Jake joined forces with Mia, Greg, and others, passing out flyers, gathering signatures, and rallying support. The energy soared as the community found strength in numbers. Jake delivered speeches fueled by hope, highlighting the importance of collaboration over displacement. The town hall was packed with supporters, and as they raised their voices for justice, hope burgeoned like flowers breaking through the frost. They didn't know what lay ahead, but in their eyes there was a certainty, a belief that connected them deeply all the same. Piece by piece, they were rebuilding their identity. Then came the pivotal day, the day of the council meeting. Jake stood at the front of a long room filled with familiar faces as he took his place to speak. Council members sat across from him, poised and unyielding. He took a deep breath and spoke from the heart. "We are not just fighting for homes. We are advocating for community, for the future, for the very essence of who we are. We deserve a seat at the table." As he shared stories of neighbors, friends, and those who believed in their cause, emotional murmurs passed through the room. Jake felt the rhythm of unified voices mesh into something greater than himself, something powerful. At the meeting's end, Councilwoman Avery stood up and, with unwavering determination, said, "We hear you. There is much to consider, but I believe there is potential for collaboration." Relief washed over the crowd. As they exchanged hopeful glances, Jake caught Lilia's eye from the back of the room. She was smiling, her little body practically bouncing with excitement. When the final vote was cast, it was a small step, but it was significant, a showcase of partnership and community spirit. They wouldn't transform the landscape overnight, but they had opened a door to a future filled with possibility. Jake knew this was just the beginning. They had shown true strength, resilience, and a willingness to collaborate. Together, they had fought not just for a house but for a home, a future where laughter could resonate throughout their neighborhood. As they left the meeting, Jake held Lilia's hand tightly. "We did it," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Together, kiddo." "We did it together," he replied, feeling pride pool in his heart. The storm clouds had cleared, leaving behind a brilliant horizon waiting for them to explore. The road ahead might be challenging, yet as long as they stood united, hope would always guide them forward. This was their community. This was their home. And now, the journey was truly just beginning. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share this journey with those who understand the importance of standing together.